Welcome back to the Dapper Vault. Today we're diving into one of the essentials of men's style, the art of tying a necktie. And I know there's tons of videos out there, but in today's video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to tie 3 of the classic tie knots. The 4-in-hand knot, the Half-Windsor knot, and the Windsor knot. Let's get into it. Before I get in, you guys know that not all ties are created equal, right? So the necktie you choose should be based out of 3 factors. Factor number 1, your collar type. If you're wearing a wide or a spread collar, go with a larger knot to fill up the open spaces such as the Windsor knot. While for a narrower collar such as your point collar, a smaller tie knot such as the 4-in-hand knot is going to look way better. And the reason for this is because choosing the right tie knot is going to make it look proportionally better as compared to if you don't. Factor number 2, the fabric of your necktie. Neckties come in range of fabrics from your silk, your wools, your knitted, your cashmere, you name it. Thicker fabrics such as your wool or cashmere tends to look better in your smaller tie knots such as the 4-in-hand knot that doesn't add bulk. On the other hand, thinner fabrics such as your silk offers way more flexibility in tying any knot you choose. So don't try to attempt tying complex knots such as your eldritch knots with your wool ties because you're gonna struggle and it's gonna look, yeah. And lastly, factor number 3, your face shape. Believe it or not, your face shape matters. Larger and more symmetrical knots suit larger faces, while for smaller asymmetrical knots such as the 4-in-hand knot suits smaller faces by elongating the neck. Just like factor 1, it's all about the proportions that can either make or break your overall look. Of course, these are just guidelines. Choose what you like and wear it like a champ. Before we start, let's get familiar with the anatomy of a tie. So the wider part of the tie is called the blade and the narrower end is the tail. And I'll be referring to these terms throughout the video so it's easier for you to follow along, so keep this in mind. Important note, the next part of the video is intentionally mirrored, so think of it as looking at yourself in the mirror as you follow along, alright? Starting with the 4-in-hand knot. Place the tie around your neck with the blade on your right and the tail on the left. For the 4-in-hand knot, the blade should be about 6 to 8 inches lower than the tail. Now take the blade, cross it over the tail to form an X. Wrap the blade under the tail from the left to the right. From here, bring the blade across the front of the knot, creating a horizontal band. Now lift the blade through the loop between your tie and your collar. Now pass the blade through the horizontal band you've created. The next step is crucial. Pull the tie about 80% down. And how you would know is lift up the knot to your neck and the tie should fall 80% of your middle of the waistband. From here, you want to make sure everything is nice and neat and you want to make sure that you flatten out any creases. And this is the part where you create the dimple. What I like to do here is I like to pinch the middle of the blade above the knot to create that dimple. While holding this pinch, pull the blade down gently and it should create the dimple where you want it. Hold the tail and pull the blade down to tighten. And slide the knot up your collar for a snug fit, and there you have it, the 4-in-hand knot. Moving on with the Windsor knot. Tie around your neck with the blade on your right and the tail on the left. For the Windsor, the blade should be about 10 inches lower than the tail. Okay? Take the blade and cross it over the tail to form an X in front of you. Now pull the blade behind the X and through the loop between your tie and collar, pull it down to the left side and pull it tight. Now move the blade behind the tail and bring it to the right side of the X. Now take the blade and pull it through the loop on the right side and pull it down to create the right shoulder. You should see a triangle starting to form under your chin. Now bring the blade across the front from the right to the left, creating a horizontal band. lift the blade through the loop around your neck into the horizontal band. Just like the 4-in-hand knot, you want to make sure you pull the blade down until it reaches 80% of its length. And make sure that there's no creases, and make sure everything is nice and tidy. Now pinch a dimple above the knot on the blade and gently pull the blade down until the dimple is where you want it. From here, grab the tail and slide the knot up your collar and you're done. You have yourself a decent Windsor knot. And lastly, we have the Half-Windsor knot. Starting with a tie around your neck with the blade on your right and the tail on the left. For the Half-Windsor knot, the blade should be about 8 to 10 inches lower than the tail. Now take the blade, cross it over the tail to form an X. Lift the blade up through the loop between the tie and collar and pull it down to the left tightly. Now move the blade underneath the tail, bringing it to the right side of the knot. Now bring the blade over the front of the knot from the right to the left, creating a horizontal band. Now lift the blade through the loop around your neck one more time. And pass the blade through the horizontal band you just created. Again, pull it down 80% of the length and make sure everything is nice and flat and that there is no creases anywhere. Pinch a dimple above the knot of the blade and pull the blade down until the dimple is where you want it to be, and gently tighten by pulling the blade while holding the tail. And there you have it, the Half-Windsor knot. And there you have it, the 3 classic tie knots. Play around with it and see which of these tie knots suit you best. And don't forget, style is personal, so wear what makes you confident. So that's it for today's video. If you found this video helpful, you know what to do. And I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, stay dapper.